Welcome to episode 315 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. This is a special episode that I was able to recover that was recorded on Thursday, July 11th, 2024, on the eve of the Macstock Conference and Expo. We do talk about some of the stories that was in episode 314, but I thought you would still enjoy this show with myself, Chuck Joyner, Jeff Gamet, and Marty Jencius. We were all in person together, and we also talk about what to expect at Macstock. Enjoy. We are recording this live at Macstock, at the Macstock Conference and Expo. We're at the event here. I'm in person with all three of us friends here. Start off here right next to me, Jeff Gamet. It's so great to have you here, and good to see you.
Dave, it's always awesome to get to see you through a screen, but even better when we get to hang out in person. We should do this more often.
Oh, yeah, we should always do it more often. But also, Chuck Joyner, great to see you in person. How are you doing?
Great to see you, Dave, although I'm a little distressed that you sat me beside Jeff Gamet because I'm beside Jeff Gamet.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. You know, we're all beside Jeff Gamet.
Yes, we are. And finally, Marty Jencius, great to see you in person, too, here at Macstock.
It's good to be here, but I don't think you've pitched quite the picture of what we're doing here at Macstock. We found a hidden room.
We did. Yeah,
squatting in a room.
We are.
Not literally squatting, but we are figuratively squatting in a room, all gathered around a, 2-foot by 6-foot table with a bunch of computer equipment and microphones trying to record this show.
I think the term you're looking for is guerrilla podcasting.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think guerrilla podcasting might be a good thing here. So we're just going to go through the show here. We got some great topics and go all the way up to, and then just give a little bit of our insights. Probably a little bit of a shorter show, but it's okay. We'll see how the pace goes here and how we go here. So I'm just going to start off here with beta. This week, Apple did release the third betas of iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 to developers. They are, of course, still trying to get the Apple in the intelligence features into this. It's limited to the iPhone 15 Pro models, and there was also the password logins and the Wi-Fi passwords, a lot of other stuff. Just going through the paces here of the beta testing, so I don't expect there's too much that was really added to it. You also have Vision Pro 1.2.0 that was released in beta.
Beta 3.
And you've been trying that. You had all your Vision Pros on beta, right?
Yep, it's on beta 3, and not a lot of new stuff with it. One thing that you can do with it that I tested out last night is that you can switch the crown to actually be a volume control button if you want to. So it's not defaulting to the environment, but you can set it to default to the crown. But yeah, it's a great addition.
Yeah, so it looks like it's doing real well with that. And of course, you got watchOS 11 beta. Do you put your watch on beta, Marty, or no?
That was the one I forgot, so I'll have to check.
Okay, and it doesn't seem like it's much drastic of the changes with that when it comes to the beta, of course. Also, tvOS has an update as well, so we'll talk a little bit about tvOS here in just a minute. Some new features that just came out. We also Apple continues to beta test 17.6. That the third beta of that came out, and that's pretty close to release, as well as Sonoma 14.6 is coming out as well. But Apple is preparing for a minor update to 17.5. We're going to 17.5.2, and we're probably going to go under the assumption there's probably not much to know about it other than there's going to be beta tests. I mean, there's updates that just bug fixes and that kind of stuff. So I don't see it being a big drastic change here when it comes to that. So, but a number of other things that we'll go through here they did a couple of changes to the control center in iOS 18. Again, I haven't had a chance to try this yet, but you can reorder the controls. We knew that you can be able to do that, which I think is amazing. And the resize and delete of controls, which is great as well. So they really have put some good enhancements in with with the control center. I think there was never a lot of flexibility with it in iOS 17 and previous. So I think that's something that we're definitely going to be looking at here. They also seeded the Sequoia, also known as
macOS Tall Trees.
Yes. So that's been seeded, as well as other things here. So one of the other interesting things that was discovered here is the beta Apple Intelligence. They are seeing some Apple Intelligence settings that you can look at, but it's only available as a developer using it in Xcode. So they really didn't put it out to the devices just yet. So that's something that we're going to definitely see more of, I believe, because everybody's anxious to really find out about Apple and intelligence here. So the other thing I was going to mention here, I have a little problem with internet here, but is the fact that they added in tvOS, they added Insight and giving more views of this. So this is really killing me now that the internet's down. Let's see what these load, but yeah, it's the Apple TV Insight feature. So it's going to be available for some Apple TV Plus shows and movies. The Insight will have details on actors. Similar, I think we talked about this before. This was like like Amazon Prime does that, where you could find out who the actor is at the time you're watching it. So they've added that.
The more I watch Apple TV and other streaming services, and now with the Vision Pro, I'm watching them a lot. The question constantly comes up in the middle for me: who is that actor? Where have I seen them before? I think it's great for those of us who want to dig below the show.
Yep. Also, this was interesting. Google has actually released a Google Photos to iCloud Photos tool. This got released this week. This allows you to transfer photos and videos from Google Photos to iCloud Photos, complete with albums and descriptions. Apple did release an equivalent tool for moving iCloud Photos to Google Photos about 3 years ago. And so now it looks like it was a reciprocal move by Google. The company's released the tools as part of their data transfer initiative, which is focusing on ensuring that customers can download their data from one online service to another. That's pretty awesome. And we got a link on the show notes as far as this goes. Yeah, I think this is pretty awesome because there's a lot of people who go on both platforms. I mean, I've got photos out on Google Photos as well as on iCloud Photos. So what do you think, Jeff?
Yes, it's awesome. However, the cynic in me really doesn't feel like they're doing this for the benefit of customers. It just kind of works out that way. This just feels like it felt to me when Apple did the same thing. This is about making sure, or doing their part to make sure that the government doesn't try and regulate them more.
Yeah, that's probably one of the one things you probably got to worry about. Do you think this is a great idea, Chuck, with having this type of tool?
Well, Jeff may be a cynic. I guess I'm a little more paranoid than cynic, but I started to wonder if this is a precursor for Google giving up on Google Photos as one of the ways that, they've moved so many other things out and discontinued services, and they've had to let people get their stuff off. Mm-hmm. And so wouldn't this be an interesting way to start that process without necessarily saying anything for people to move over to Apple's Photos as opposed to Google Photos? So, other than that, I'm with Jeff. It's one of those two, maybe a combination or maybe just one. I don't know. But listen, anytime you can move things back and forth, it's a good thing.
Yeah. But
I'm even more paranoid than Chuck. I'm just wondering how much of this could be a potential data grab in terms of information and them having data around photos and in general, particularly in AI and generating types of photos from a large database. But
so
Dave, I need to point out that in this discussion, I was actually the most middle of the road person. What's going on here?
You're never middle of the road, Jeff. Come on.
That is kind of unheard of, but so that's a lot of the things with beta we're kind of expecting so far. But let's spin it back to Macstock. I mean, it's just so great to see all of you, and I can't say enough that we're having a great time already. And it's only been Thursday as we got together today, as everybody's arrived into Macstock. Marty, go ahead and tell people you're going to be doing your workshop tomorrow as you record.
Doing a workshop tomorrow on AI, and it's more about, there's a lot of concerns about ethics. There's a lot of concerns about data grabbing from other sources. Mine is going to be focused on how to use it from a work productivity standpoint.
Yep.
So the kind of typical things that we do in the workplace and ways in which we can speed those up.
Yeah.
With some examples, but I'm really trying to toss out ideas for people to try in the workshop for 5 or 10 minutes and then come back with how'd that work for you.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, you're going to be speaking doing another.
Sunday, Sunday, I'm doing one on helping people who are reluctant to do their own troubleshooting. That's teaching them how to troubleshoot.
That's going to be a great topic, and we can't wait to hear about that. So
yeah, I can't wait to figure it out tomorrow night after.
That's kind of how we do our presentations here. We're kind of on the fly here. So Chuck, you and Jeff actually are doing a tag team presentation, which is going to be awesome. And on your topic, what's that going to be?
We're going to talk about getting more for your Apple dollar. The idea is that, there was a time that you could just say, I'm just going to buy the top of the line and that's what I need.
Yep.
And that's not the case anymore as far as the Mac hardware, but on a number of other hardware categories, there are things that we want to make sure people think about instead of just jumping in and spending money, maybe that they don't have to, or that is ill-advised for what they do.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then you're going to have your own presentation.
No, that's
just the two of you.
Just the two of us.
Just you. And then Jeff, you have a presentation that you're going to be doing on your own as well, right?
Yes. So that one's on Saturday, and I'll be talking about getting set up with smart home tech.
Okay, great.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. The subtitle for the session is something to the effect of, "Don't make the same mistakes Jeff made."
Yeah, there's a few times we've talked about that. So,
are these tech mistakes, Jeff, or life mistakes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I will be talking about Apple services. I've really got that as we've all done. We're the final hours of getting our presentations together, but it's going to kind of just give an insights of all the core Apple services that are out there, and as well as we're going to be. I'll be going over the Apple One bundle, which I think a lot of people get confused about how to, what's going to be the good value of that. So I think it's going to be a really great insights to that as well. And there's so many other people going to be here that they're going to be speaking. We have a lot of great discussions, a couple more workshops that are be coming on Friday, which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to have some great workshops all today. We recently just got sponsorship from OWC, so everybody's going to be very happy they're getting to get lunch on Friday. We weren't originally going to have that, but I thank you to OWC sponsoring us.
Great, we're not going to go hungry on Friday.
Yeah, we won't go go hungry on Friday. So that's great. So it's an amazing event. And I wish you were here, because by the time you listen to this, I'm sure we'll already have had the conference, but maybe next year. But we'll give you a recap, obviously next week, once we've settled down from all the events and having fun here. So,
hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to stick in here just a second.
Please do.
Because we all know each other virtually, just like a lot of the folks that are listening to this know us virtually, either through video or just the audio podcast. There is still a big benefit to getting people together in one place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I've shook one hand today for someone who I had not met in person before.
Right.
Other than that, it was all hugs the whole way around. It's hard to explain what that has come to mean to all of us. The community and just the people in that community. And so if you are not part of it, if you're not taking advantage of it, folks, you really, really should be. Take advantage virtually, and then when the opportunity comes up, connect personally, because it's just a blast. We have so much fun.
Yeah, there will be a digital pass. It's already going to be on sale. So once we get all the presentations finalized as recording, and you'll be able to see what we did after the fact. So if you weren't able to make it, you can actually go and look back and watch these presentations later, which is great. So, but I agree with you. I mean, we've got so many great friends. Our friend Webb Bixby's here, because he's going to be being with us, and it's just so great to see him in person for the very first time. So there's another good example of folks that have been friends of the show and are part of the Apple community, and being able to see all these great folks in person for the very first time. So,
Dave, is this the first time you've had a live audience for a podcast recording?
Probably kind of a live audience, yeah.
So we have
an audience of one.
Oh, an audience of one, yeah. Good to have you, Webb.
I had no idea.
Webb, go wrestle up some more people.
Yeah.
I'm glad I left my pants on.
Yeah.
Kidding.
That is true.
No pants.
That is true. Do you have any other insights about Macstock? I mean, we absolutely love this show and where this is going. Yeah, give us some insights on that.
I've said before, probably even on In Touch with iOS, that going to Macstock is like going to a family reunion, but in a good way. And that's true, because you get to see so many people that you typically only get to see online, and getting to share that time together is really nice. And then on top of that, you get to learn cool things. Here's an example. Last year, Marty talked about using large language models and AI. And before he did the presentation, I was thinking, is this really going to be something useful to me? Because the results that I see are often just not that useful. And then he does his presentation, and I was thinking, holy crap, this is really cool. So, that was really awesome getting to watch you do that presentation, and you totally kicked butt.
Yeah, well, now you've gotten me even more anxious about tomorrow, so thanks, Jeff.
No pressure. I will have my pen and paper out to take notes.
And correcting me. And this has been a difficult week for AI. Let's just put it that way. They've taken a lot of arrows.
Oh, yeah. It's been a rough week for AI. Yeah, I think Apple made a wise decision by stepping back from taking the spot on the OpenAI board.
Yeah.
And Microsoft stepping away from the OpenAI board.
If you don't know, Phil Schiller, who was the Apple fellow, he's pretty much has retired. It was going to be on the OpenAI board, and what happened was they felt that it probably is a conflict that we really shouldn't have somebody from Apple on that board. So that didn't happen anymore. And I believe the board member was from Microsoft originally, and they were going to open it up. And isn't that what it was?
I thought Microsoft and Apple were both going to have someone on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Apple stepped back at the same time that Microsoft said, yeah, we're going to step out of this. There's no real value in us having someone on this board.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, part of that does relate to the changes in the way OpenAI is going to be sharing information with partners. So, yeah, so that makes sense. But I think for Apple and Microsoft both, distancing themselves from any potential fallout that could happen from OpenAI business decisions down the road, that was a pretty prudent move.
Yeah, I would agree about that. So any other comments about that before we move on?
Not at this point. It's one of those stories that seems to be developing rapidly. Now, maybe that'll be the end. Both of them have stepped away.
Yeah.
But, it just feels like these are things that are going to be speculated over for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Did I take us off topic?
You did not.
Oh, wow.
Try harder, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, challenge accepted.
There was a number of news stories this week that I wanted to hit on a little bit, and some of you hadn't read the notes yet, but you'll be surprised here in a minute. Astropad. That's Jeff's favorite product. The Astropad Studio has gained support for Apple Pencil Pro controls. They announced a major update to the Astropad Studio app, introducing these new features that work with the Apple Pencil Pro that was launched earlier this year. Astropad Studio was designed to turn the iPad into a drawing tablet that can be used with the PC and Mac creative apps. The 5.4 version of Astropad Studio is going to support which supports the squeeze gesture and shortcuts. It can also have custom shortcuts to swap between your preferred tools. So they've added a number of great features, and I believe you can get a 1-year license for this for $60, a lifetime license for $120. Is this a license that you've used? Or you subscribed to? Jeff?
I think so. Okay, when I say think so, I have to go back and look and see what I'm actually paying for right now. But Here's the thing. If you are using your iPad as part of your graphic design workflow on your Mac or on your Windows PC, Astropad Studio is a really great addition. And this is kind of spoiler territory for the presentation Chuck and I are doing, but since this won't actually be published until probably after we've done it,
Right.
It's okay. Yeah, if you're looking for an alternative to using something like a Wacom Cintiq tablet, Astropad Studio on an iPad is a completely viable alternative. And actually, if you're going to use your iPad as a replacement for a Cintiq or in place of a Cintiq, I would say you really need to put Astropad Studio on it.
Yeah, I would agree. Chuck, I know you don't use it, then Marty, you probably don't get involved with that, so probably not going to have too much of the comment on that. But
does this sell more software or does it sell more pencils or both?
Both. So it will get some people to buy an Apple Pencil because now they have a tool that takes their iPad beyond what Apple's offering. But then it also sells other hardware because Astropad Studio, that's done by the same people that do rock, paper, pencil, which is the screen protector, screen cover that I use on my iPads. And it gives you that textured feel, I think more so than the nano texture on an iPad. Did you bring your iPad with you?
Yeah, it's not with us in the room. But
that's okay. Before this weekend's over, I really want to see that textured display and see how it feels compared to what I have on my iPad with rock, paper, pencil.
I brought my pencil too, so you can play with it.
So we can trade iPads for a little bit because I brought my Apple Pencil, which has a different tip on it, the one that comes with rock, paper, pencil.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump in here too, as Jeff said. This will be live after our presentation, but it's one of the points that we're going to make in the presentation that there's so many different options for all these devices, and it depends on what you're doing with your device. Just, you're right, Dave. I don't use the drawing capabilities. If I do, it's in the grossest possible sense.
I really want to see your art.
Yeah, no, you don't, because there is none.
Oh, but I do.
There is none. But, it's, on the other hand, Jeff uses his for the art part a lot. And so if you're watching your budget at all, and who isn't right now, or really anytime, you really want to pay attention to where you're spending your money and how, and enhancing what you're doing with your device.
Okay, Chuck, I want to point out that you're sitting here talking about, being money conscious, budget conscious. And we're doing a presentation together where our primary goal is to spend other people's money.
Well, that's true, but we want them to spend it wisely.
But that's the reason you come to Macstock, is to have people tell you what you should spend your money on.
Oh, sure. We all talk about our favorite toys, and we say toys affectionately because at the end of the day, those are things that we all use to get things done. Wow,
that's fair.
Silence to the room.
Yeah,
Jeff.
Okay, and that's this week's show. Thanks for joining us.
We're not going to be able to see. We're not going to get Chuck to be able to do one of his drawings, but you could do a drawing in Chuck's honor that recognize and stick it into the slideshow.
You should just make sure that you don't miss the presentation that Chuck and I are doing. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, not going to miss it.
We won't miss it.
Yeah. No spoilers. Just
okay.
You want to be there.
All right. Other story I thought this was interesting. I think we all know this, really, is Apple users are keeping their devices for longer as upgrades slow. This was for a much increasingly long period of times that they're finding. This was the Consumer Intelligence Research Partners suggests that they did an analysis, and in recent years a shift has occurred in the behavior of Apple customers who are increasingly opting to retain their iPhones, iPads, and Macs for extended periods before upgrading. In the most recent 12-month period, 71% of iPhone owners and 58% of Mac owners report that they have previous devices that are over 2 years old, with up from 63 and 59% 4 years ago. In the specific case of the Mac, that they're indicating a substantial increase in the length of time users keep their devices. Currently, 56% of Mac customers hold on to their laptops and desktops for 3 years or more, which is a significant rise. So looking at the numbers here, and I think also economic impact could have been affected by the pandemic. People were keeping their products; they weren't ready to do any upgrades, as well as this was noted by Mark Gurman in Bloomberg, saying that the percentage of iPhone and Mac users who previous device was older than 2 years had risen much sharply. But many of the factors were included, but I think new models, improvement in durability, reliable devices, and changing user needs. So most of us here upgrade every year. I upgrade my iPhone every year. Chuck upgrades his my iPhone every year. I believe you do.
Yeah, I have a rule of thumb. I only upgrade when the new model comes out.
Like Chuck and I as well.
Okay,
that
makes
fair.
sense.
So, Marty, what do you think of this data? I mean, I think a lot of people are holding on to their Macs. I mean, I still have an M1 MacBook Pro, which it's still been very happy with. It's next year it's going to be coming up off warranty. So
it's pretty impressive, and the data, if you look at the articles, interesting. It begs to question: is this because the technology is getting more, better and more reliable and less chance of it breaking or damage? Is it also part of the factor that we're looking at a point where the economy and inflation, which is getting better, but it's not quite there yet for people and purchasers, if that's what's influencing this?
Yeah.
Or if it's a use case where, users are saying, I can do everything I want to do on this 3-year-old iPad, that there's nothing on the current iPad that's going to make me want to change.
Right. What's your thoughts on this, Chuck?
I wish that, and I didn't have a chance to look at this because of travel time in detail, but I doubt that they addressed this, but I know, and I'll speak to me and I'll speak to a lot of the folks here at Macstock, we're keeping our devices longer, but we're keeping multiple devices. Mm-hmm. So if you posited the question as what's your daily driver, I have to wonder how much different it would be, because I still have Intel Macs that, I make use of. So you could say, how long do you have older machines? And yes, the answer is yes, but that doesn't mean I don't upgrade. Yep. So, I think that's part of it. But I also think that, these machines have become so powerful that depending on what you do, to just keep hashing on a theme, they might be adequate until the security is no longer supported or until they don't meet your needs.
Yeah, makes sense. And Jeff, wrap us up with this. What do you think on this?
All right, I'm the problem child. Chuck started hitting on the problems that he's seeing with this study. One of the big problems I'm seeing is that it looked at, if I'm thinking of the right study, it looked at who was upgrading within like a 2-year period. What I would find to be really interesting, considering how high the numbers skew, who is holding on devices for 3 to 5 years? And based on the data that we have right now from this study, we don't know that. To me, that's actually a more meaningful piece of information, because holding on to a device for a couple years outside of our echo chamber, okay, that's pretty common. But that 3 to 5 year number, I think that would be much more telling.
Does holding on mean I still own it even though I've given it to my kid?
You're coming around to my way of thinking, Marty.
Yeah, my assumption, and keep in mind this is just an assumption, is that they're looking, or they were asking about what are the devices you're actually using, as opposed to the extra stuff that you just haven't gotten rid of. If it's just what do you have sitting around, then the data from this is essentially meaningless.
So, Jeff, what I just heard is something I was thinking, but not in quite these terms. It depends on how the questions are asked.
Oh, of course.
There lies, damn lies, and statistics. And so, this is a stat. Okay, that's great, but not suggesting that anybody was massaging anything one direction or the other, but it just can skew completely how you would answer the question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So.
But it's been blessed by Mark Gurman.
Oh, well. I stand corrected.
Yeah. Good point there. Next story here, Severance. Severance is a very, very popular TV show on Apple TV Plus. I think a lot of people really liked it. It was very suspenseful. It put you on the edge of your seat. It was a very interesting show. Well, they've completed some filming of season 2. Season 2 is going to be out. They finished this past April of 2024 this year, and it's supposed to debut sometime soon. Well, they did make the announcement. It's not going to debut until January 17th of 2025. So they're teasing a little more, keeping a little more suspense with that show. And have you guys seen that show? I thought it was a really great show.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah.
I haven't,
You didn't see it yet?
but now I can keep it in my queue till January 2025.
You can. So it's a kind of thing with this show. They've been very mysterious. So the work environment and workers that agreed to separate the innie and outie persona. Severance has become one of the most discussed Apple TV Plus shows. I'll be talking about Apple TV Plus during the Macstock presentation. So, yeah, it's interesting to see how Apple TV Plus has evolved with so many incredible original content shows, and that's just why it's becoming even more and more popular. And this show is one of those reasons that it's just an amazing show. So, anybody want anything else to add on that?
Yes.
Please.
Marty, you'll get the joke later. Are you really sure you haven't seen this show yet?
I think I get the joke now.
Yeah. So, if you haven't seen season 1 already, check it out. I think Marty will be one of them, and it's definitely going to be a great thing here. Apple this month has refreshed their security support document, which is great. I love to see Apple stays on top of the changes and the continuing evolving issues with phishing scams and security. And the document provides iPhone, iPad, and Mac users with tips on how to recognize and avoid social engineering schemes like the phishing emails and fake support calls. This updated information follows a lot of recent reports of smishing attacks. I think I come about these terms all the time with this stuff, I tell you. And targeting Apple IDs and malicious actors who have been sending out SMS text messages that attempt to get users to provide their Apple ID usernames and passwords on a fake iCloud website. Oh, well, there's fake websites out there forever. You should know better not to be putting that information there if you're not sure of it. So Apple's guidelines have provided key information that all users should be aware of and protect themselves, such as recommendation to ignore messages and suspicious links. It's the same stuff we talk about all the time here on this show, and I'm sure for those of you who work in the corporate world, you're hearing it about phishing scams all the time. You should just be very vigilant, be careful. Don't click on any emails and links and that kind of stuff. But Apple has even added even more further instructions on the site to how to spot these schemes and the forms that schemes can take, and being able how to report them and all that stuff. So that's great. I think Apple's very, very good at making sure we're aware of this stuff. What do you think, Chuck, on this?
In this world, how can attention to security be a bad thing? If more companies were as on top of security for their systems as Apple is, we would have a few less problems. Unfortunately, it's become so prevalent that you have to have whole departments just to keep up, because the bad guys, they have nothing else to do except try to figure out ways around it.
Right.
We're trying to figure out how to educate users to and get them to care about it and pay attention to it, because everybody thinks it can't happen to them.
Oh, it can.
Can.
In a heartbeat.
Can.
Yep. Any thoughts on this, Marty?
I think putting this in front of the public as much as they can is always a good thing. I'm looking at some of the typical scams, and they suggest things like never use Apple gift cards to make payments to other people. We giggle about it, but
the green the green dot cards, and
you see folks that are getting caught up in this, and then you see some folks who are scam busting them and talking to the people on the other end of the phone that are trying to get information, and they're just like, no, you really have to give me this information. And they get frustrated. And when the person who is knowing they're being fished on, fights back in that way. But I think it's a good thing, obviously.
Yep. You think, Jeff?
There's a lot of people that will do the cynical thing and say, this is all just basic stuff. You should just know this.
Yep.
Well, no, most people don't. So putting out documents like this that can help people is great. And sure, this one's from Apple. There are a bunch from other companies as well, and good on all of them for putting this information out to help make it easier for the average person to avoid scams.
Yep, agreed. This story, we talked about this earlier this week, but this is still a great story to report on here. The HomePod saves a family's life after a dog starts a kitchen fire. Apple's HomePod is credited as being saving a family in Colorado, alerting them to a house fire that was accidentally set by the family dog. The Colorado Springs Fire Department received a call about a house fire, and the details and video were on Facebook. Homeowners were alerted by the fire by their HomePod, which will come up early hours of the morning. Basically what the HomePod Mini did is it's got a high heat notification feature that's from the HomePod and alerted them about the fire. But the HomePod feature doesn't have any ways of sending alerts about high temperatures. So indeed, the HomePod has sound recognition, an option to have the ability of the sound of the fire and to send an alert. But HomePod used for the sound recognition to detect that fire and proceeded to send the alert to the homeowners to let them know what was going on. So unclear if the family didn't hear the fire alarm or if the HomePod just had it detected. So I think this is a pretty amazing thing. The fact that the HomePod was able to do something like this. And Jeff, we always hear good things about you when you tell us about your HomePod. This is actually probably a good thing this time.
It actually is a good thing. The joke that I'll make is if it was my HomePod and it detected the fire, it probably would have either turned on a light or started playing some random genre of music for me instead. But that said, yeah, anytime the technologies that we're bringing into our homes can help make our lives safer, cool, I'm for it.
Yep. What about you, Chuck?
Again, it's one of those little extra things that the HomePod can do, just like so many Apple devices. If you aren't researching and spending just a little time finding out all the capabilities of these, hopefully you would never need this capability. But it's there, and you already paid for the HomePod, so why not take that extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes, make sure it's turned on, and learn how it could be used? It just seems like a no-brainer.
Yep.
The next version of the HomePod, or at least the next update of the HomePod, will actually yell at the dog for you when this happens. And I've got to report that the dog and the family have split up. The dog has run away and is now a major internet influencer.
You really need to check out its cooking channel.
Yeah.
Marty, you're as twisted as the rest of us.
Yes, you are.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, and finally, I've got the last story here. We're going to wrap up a little early. The 1Password has added the ability to share Wi-Fi passwords using a QR code. The popular password manager 1Password has just received another update with a very useful new feature. You can now generate a QR code to share your Wi-Fi passwords with others, making it easy for the guests to connect to the network without having them spell out the password. What came in handy today, you come connecting to my Wi-Fi at home because you really couldn't have done this other than going to websites to generate it, which I don't feel very safe putting in my password into a website to create a QR code.
Why not, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know. we just talked about
I put your passwords into websites like that all the time.
I thought so. So sharing the Wi-Fi credentials like this is detailed by 1Password team in a blog post that the app will now automatically generate a login QR code for the Wi-Fi credentials. All you have to do is fill in the network name and the network password. 1Password does the rest, and other people can access the Wi-Fi network simply by scanning that QR code, which is great. Makes things very convenient. And Apple's new Passwords app has a very similar feature to this. It's going to be in iOS 18, which is their standalone Passwords app. This app will be able to share the credentials of the Wi-Fi network using that QR code. But the biggest advantage here is it is built into the system for Apple. But you know what? I think 1Password is really doing a very good job of kind of one up and making sure that they have a product that is of very much value. I find extreme value of 1Password. I think most of you here do as well. And so I think it's something that's great to see. So, Chuck, what do you think on 1Password here with this?
1Password is one of those apps that everyone thinks of it as 1Password, as a password manager.
Right.
And there's so many more things it can do. And there's so many pieces of information that you can store securely, really securely within it. I believe this is correct. 1Password has never been hacked, unlike some other.
Correct.
Unlike some other password managers. Well, I wasn't calling any names, but it's a place where you can feel good about storing digitally your driver's license, your credit card numbers, other secure pieces of information that you want to have, and they sync back and forth between all your devices automatically, so you always have them available. That's just one feature,
right?
One extra feature of 1Password. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Apple's password app looks like, but it's not going to necessarily replace 1Password at this point.
Sure. Marty, think?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out more practical applications for this new piece in terms of, so I could collect maybe 8 passwords and send them as QR codes to my kids, and that would give them the ability to crack that if they needed to crack into that. Say I eat dust earlier than I expect to. I'm trying to think of creative ways that this could benefit me in terms of passing on passwords to people in my family that need them.
Do you have an Airbnb? This is a super easy way for your Airbnb guests to get on the Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
Instead of them calling you all the time, what's the Wi-Fi password?
Yeah. Or I could just, every time Aileen screams from the other room, what's the password? I could just send her a QR code. Yeah.
Exactly. Final word on this, Jeff?
I actually thought this was in 1Password already.
I did too.
I was surprised to see the news. So good for adding a feature that I thought was already there.
Yep, definitely. So again, what a great event here this week, and being able to be here together with all of you in person to do this show. We always enjoy doing this show, and to be able to do it in person once in a while, it's kind of fun to see you guys in person and doing this. So we'll definitely give some recaps next week of Macstock and let you know how everything will pan out by the time you listen to this. So it's just going to be just a great event. So we're really looking forward to. We are looking forward to it starting tomorrow as we record, and go from there. But for now, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a Patreon of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. They have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified when we're live streaming. We weren't live streaming this week because we're just recording a show here, but they're usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. You can watch the live stream as well as the past live streams, as well as all the past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped into the magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show with your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.com. And Jeff Gamet, thank you, as always, for being on the show. And just amazing to see you in person. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks for always having me on. And it's especially cool that we get to be here in person to do it this week. Yeah. Okay, for shows, I just realized we've made a Jeff sandwich with podcasts.
Yeah.
Because to my left, Chuck Joyner, Mac Voices Live. Why do you make those faces, Chuck?
That was a good face.
That was disturbing.
He just doesn't want to be the bread in your life.
That's right.
Oh, God. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. You're the bread in my life, Chuck.
Who's the top slice? Who's the bottom
slice? Right?
Stop.
Let's move on.
Yes.
All right, well, the other side of this sandwich on Thursdays, Dave Ginsburg's In Touch with iOS. Oh, I'm still amazed. Both of you let me on shows. I'm also amazed I'm allowed on live shows.
Yeah.
How is this even possible?
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of live shows, there's also the Big Show and the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. Then, not live shows, The Context Machine, Brian Chaffin and I do that, and then Patrice Brendamore and I have started Retro Rewatch, where we're watching shows that I should have seen but never did, but she has. So we talk about them from the perspective of someone who's seen them many times, Patrice, and only for the first time, me.
And just so everybody knows, Retro Rewatch is not watching retro shows like the Dick Van Dyke Show. It is
right,
a sci-fi show.
Right. I mean, it could be other shows down the road, but it's not going to be like old retro TV.
Yes.
Yeah, we're watching Stargate SG-1 right now.
There you go.
Oh, and I'm Jay Gamet on all the socials.
Thanks, Jeff. And Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, and great to see you. And we're going to have a great weekend together. And where can people find you?
We are, Dave. Thanks so much for having me. MacVoices.com is where you can see everything. Right now, as you hear this, we are going to be playing some catch-ups with some Mac Voices live shows because we've been so busy with the road to Macstock. But a lot of those shows are evergreen because we touch on topics that you really need to pay attention to in today's tech world. And on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius. I know you're going to be doing your own podcast here in live.
Yeah, we're going to try and. I'm glad you road tested this equipment for me. We're going to try and do a Vision Files podcast and also a demo here of the Vision Pro. So you can find me at Jencius at mastodon.social and look at thepodtalk.net and you'll find 3 shows: Vision Profiles podcast, The Tech Savvy Professor, and Circular Firing Squad.
Great. Thank you for being here. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. We had an amazing time doing it, and being able to do it in person, it was even better. So, but until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.